I come from a big family, and it's crazy. So I have a twin brother, and then I have older brothers that are twins as well. So 2 sets of twins, and
wow.
It was crazy in the household. There was holes in the drywall. We broke windows and everything. So it was a lot. So we were rowdy in the house, and our parents were like, "You guys got to do sports. You got to get out of the house. You got to do something." So that's what we did. We went into wrestling practice, and just kind of immediately fell in love with it. Fell in love, and then crazy story from then. Just we didn't do it year round when we were young. We did football, baseball for a little bit. High school did cross country. So did a lot, but it was fun growing up, and I think a big part of that kind of helped us get recruited and move on was, there was 3 other people, that grew up in the same household, and they're competing with you every day. So look across, yeah, exactly, yeah. So look across the dinner table, and they're working hard too. So.
So now you're from Colorado, is that right?
Yeah, sorry, yeah. We're all from Colorado, grew up there, born and raised. Mm.
So what was the environment like there? Was it a small town, or was there a lot of other people involved in the wrestling scene over there, or were you having to travel a lot to do this?
Yeah, so super grateful, obviously, to my parents. So Colorado is not a huge wrestling state.
Yep.
Yeah, so wrestling's more like East Coast, Midwest. So we had to travel sometimes an hour to go to club practices to, wrestle with better guys and all that. So our parents, they sacrificed a lot for us to do that. We went to a pretty good public high school, good with athletics and sports and all that, and started from there.
Yeah, did your dad wrestle, or was this first generation with you guys?
Yeah, so he wrestled in high school, but in college he played football at a small D2 school, Washburn.
Okay.
Yeah, so he did that, and I guess he wanted us to wrestle, so we wrestled and we loved it more. So.
And so, what do your parents do for work, or what did your parents do for work?
Yeah, so our mom, so we actually also have 3 older sisters, so. 7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Really big family. I didn't know you meant that big when you said big family.
Yeah. No triplets or anything with them, though, thank goodness. So, big family. My dad, so she raised us, and then my dad, he's an inner city high school teacher, and he's done that for like 45 years, something crazy like that.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so we watched him get up early every day and love what he does every day, so his passion, we kind of
getting on the grind, yeah.
Yeah,
that's good stuff.
He got up early.
Hey, it all starts with the parents, right? That's ultimately where the inspiration comes from. So, so I guess let's so you mentioned that you did play football as well. So what made you choose wrestling? Like, what was when did you decide in your life where you were like, okay, I actually want to pursue this and take this to the next level?
Yeah, so it was going into high school.
Yep.
I think that's when the switch was, where it's like, you're going to have to be serious in one of them. You can do multiple sports. You probably should. But one of them you're going to have to be serious about. So I think the switch, for me, it was you're out there alone, and it's not like a sport with a ton of fans and a lot of glory or clout, and it was more like, for me, hard-nosed, like you go into the basement of a wrestling room with no windows and you're going to try to beat somebody up for practice. So, and instead, not knocking on any team sports, but for me, it was like, if I lose, it's on me. And if I win, some of it's on
you.
Yeah, so that was big for me. Maybe selfishly, I didn't want to be responsible for somebody to block somebody. I trust myself, and if I lose, it's on me. I can't blame anyone. So
actually, let's dig a little deeper in that too, because that's an interesting topic to talk about, where you have team sports and you have individual sports. And I've done a lot of research on the difference psychologically between an individual sport athlete and a team sport athlete. So what do you think was like the biggest difference in terms of maybe the work ethic that, because since you played both, right? You played a team sport and you obviously pursued an individual sport. But what was the main difference in terms of collaboration, right? Like obviously you have coaches in wrestling and whatnot, but what was the main difference in terms of, having teammates, coaches, and stuff like that?
Yeah, so, I mean, honestly, wrestling's kind of a unique, individual, but it's somewhere in the middle also, because, I have practice partners, and, they need to give me good looks and, help push me to do better, and I need to do the same for them. So, for me, kind of like I mentioned, it's more of, it's on me, if we lose, in youth, if I lose a football game, or high school, I lose a football game, I made mistakes, sure, but, not 40 points, mistakes. It's hard. It was hard for me to wrap my head around, everybody should always be improving and all that. And I don't want to be dragged down, by other people that might, not work as hard as me. So.
Right.
The onus is all on you. That's the beauty of it. The highs and the lows. It's all on yourself, and it's all within your control.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah. So what has your, I guess, training regimen turned into over the years? Because I think definitely with individual sports as well, it's you have things that you can achieve at the next level, right? There's always that next level to get to. As a team, you personally could be working very hard and still not reach that achievement, that goal, right? But with an individual sport, it's definitely more in reach to be able to achieve that, to attain that, because you're in control of what you're putting in, and ultimately what's coming out the other end. So what does your training look like over the years?
Yeah, so I would say when I was a maybe first few years in college at Duke, it was a grind. It was, wrestle twice a day and lift once a day, just about 5 days a week, 6 days a week. So 3 workouts a day, hard workouts too. And it's lessened down more into specific, detail-oriented. I spent a year at the Olympic Training Center, and it's more specific, skill-based. I've learned a lot more about you can work hard, not just by, sweating the most or, working the hardest. Sometimes working hard is watching film. Sometimes working hard is, sometimes you need to recover hard. You need to stretch hard. There's numerous ways to get better in that aspect. So it's turned into a little more at that now that, I'm at Michigan. And, I'm still working hard to push me, so.
Oh, no, definitely. I could see that.
Yeah.
For sure. So I definitely want to touch more on the recovery aspect of stuff, but let's rewind just a little bit. So from high school, so before you actually went to Duke, what was the recruiting process? I know it varies from sport to sport. It's very different across the spectrum of sports. I don't personally know too much about the recruiting process for wrestling, so can you tell us and tell our listeners a little bit about the process in itself? Was it difficult? Was it a tough process in terms of, maybe even for example, our last guest, Grant Rayo, he had a lot of offers pulled. He went through some injuries and he had D1 offers, and they ultimately pulled him because he was injury prone. So talk a little bit about the recruiting process for you and what that was like, and strained, because it was definitely probably a stressful situation, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was. It's super stressful, and it sucks because people don't know who you really are until they spend a few months or a year with you. So it's hard because I thought I was worth more, and I didn't win. I won one state title in high school in Colorado, which is not crazy. I didn't really do anything on the national scene. National tournaments, I would maybe win a match at a tournament, which is not good. Not nationally ranked or anything like that. So honestly, me and my twin brother, we wanted to stay together, and it was hard because we almost had to beg schools to let us come and visit. Super grateful for the schools that gave us official visits, but at the time we didn't have the accolades and stuff, and that's kind of how it goes. So it sucks because I knew what I was about. I knew I worked hard. I knew what I would become, and I was willing to gamble on myself. And some people you know, I mean that's the business of it. That's the game of it. I understand it, but you know, that's what makes it hard. So we went on a few official visits, and then ended up following our older brothers to Duke. So it was good.
Wow,
that's awesome. Yeah.
So all 4 brothers wrestled at Duke then?
Yeah, and we were in the lineup for 2 years, I believe. So we were like half the lineup for a couple of years there. So it was fun.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and so that was interesting what you said about how the teams, the colleges, and the coaches, they don't know what you actually have to offer besides what's written down on paper, right? Like what you've achieved in the sport in itself. When in reality, you could potentially have somebody on your hands who's the hardest worker in the lineup, who could bring value to the team in terms of, because everybody knows that you're the average of everybody else around you, right? So if you're bringing up the work ethic of the lineup, the team, and that's going to add value to the program in itself. And when coaches don't have access to that information, that's why it's so important, I feel anyways, to have connections, not burning bridges, right? Because you have people who will advocate for you. So did you have any coaches in high school that were like, I guess maybe advocating for you in terms of, because obviously they work with you firsthand, right? So were they helping you in the college process at all in terms of reaching out to these schools and pushing you?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the other thing is it's kind of sad because, you know, the recruiting process and that, if you don't know how to do it or you don't have somebody that's been through it, you don't know how to do it. So it's sad because sometimes people miss out on opportunities. So I'm grateful, you know, my dad knew the process and the coaches. They, you know, they'll sit down and they'll speak to my character and they'll say, you know, speak with him in person. See what he's about, talk with him. I mean, that's how you get to know people, and you never really know until you know. But, you know, I was lucky that my coaches were like, hey, these kids, they work hard. They're not going to go crazy. They're going to do the right things. So that's I'm lucky that I had that. So.
Right, definitely. So were you recruited at Duke, or were you a walk-on, or what was the situation like?
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy at Duke. There's no scholarships there, and so
okay.
we still, you know, were recruited, had official visits, and ended up going there, but no scholarships there, which sucks. But we were recruited there and ended up going there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So then, what was the experience like at Duke? Walk us through, like, what was the atmosphere like with athletics and school and just your experience there?
Yeah, so, I mean, there's some phenomenal people, you know, surrounding the athletic program. I've had, you know, physical therapists, trainers, you know, the coaches are lifting coaches, wrestling coaches, phenomenal people. And it's just hard because, you know, no scholarships. We're kind of in a program that, you know, loves their basketball, and loves a couple other sports, and that's about it. So that was tough to, you know, kind of experience firsthand that, you know, we didn't have a lot of those luxuries that some of the other, you know, more valued sports have. But I understand it's a business, you know. It's Duke basketball. I get that to some degree, but also it's not. It doesn't mean I'm not going to fight for it.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's now that we're into the college situation now, you mentioned that the recovery process has become something that you focused on along with film and whatnot. So what do the training facilities look like at Duke? I'm assuming they're pretty phenomenal, top tier. Do you have access to like cold tubs, hot tubs, like recovery rooms and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so Duke had all that stuff. I'm at Michigan now. I mean, I'll get to that. I had cold tub, hot tub in the training room, underwater treadmill. You know, rehab facility was world class. So had everything in that extent. I'm not complaining like, oh, we didn't have the facilities. Like, we had all that stuff.
Yeah. So what was your regimen like in terms of recovery? Like, were you using the cold tubs X amount of times a week for maintenance in terms of recovering maybe from, you know, light strains or sprains and whatnot?
Yeah. So Big thing I did was cold tub before competition, and then if I had back issues or things that needed warmed up before practice, I'd go hot tub. Then after practices, if my legs were super worn out, we had competition, I'd throw the Normatec pants on. Those were huge. Massage guns started utilized a lot. Trainers that work on you, do mobility work was huge for me. And then honestly, just rolling out a lot, stretching a lot. And I kind of got big into it because I tore my ACL and meniscus in 2019 of December, I believe. So this stuff, it became pretty important to me, and doing that stuff helped me rehab and recover as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like that's something that not a lot of people take advantage of as well in terms of, especially at a world-class university like Duke. It's kind of hard not to utilize those things. Walk us through that injury a little bit. What was that like in terms of how long were you out for?
Yeah, so I was out. It was December 2019, and then I came back the next season in October.
Oh wow!
However many months that was, I guess. Yeah, so basically I hurt it in practice, and then I didn't really do the best things I thought I was fine, had a match in a few weeks, wrestled, and then it kind of, I think, fully torn, and gave out a lot in that, and I was like, all right, this is bad. So ended up having surgery shortly after, and I mean, rehabbing and recovery, it sucks. It's very slow, it's very monotonous, it's very, it's slow, and you're almost chained down, and you kind of just have to do that. But for me, it was, a mind switch of, I worked hard on the wrestling mat, I have to work hard on, I'm going to get 100 leg lifts in, or 100 baby squats in with this leg, so that's kind of what it turned into.
And that's so important too, people undervalue how important recovery is, and they focus so much on their training and okay, I need to work so hard in the gym, but they need to view their recovery and their rehab processes like that. And that's one thing I did too. I'd be jacked up for training and our lifts and stuff, but not so much for the rehab side of things or just general body maintenance. But when I started to think of it as okay, you know what, this is just as good, if not more important than what I'm doing in the gym at this stage in my career. I need to view this as, okay, this is my lift for today. I need to be excited about this and focus on it. And that's really when I noticed a difference in it. And like you said, injuries can be so monotonous and mentally taxing.
No, absolutely. And that's, I mean, you said it best. If you can have that mind switch of, hey, I'm in this situation, I have to deal with it. Am I the person that if I'm in a tough situation, I don't do the things that I did just in my wrestling? You want to carry that in all aspects of your life. So, you said it best. And, like you said, if this is my, if I take wrestling serious or my sports serious, it's my job, and I can't show up to my job with no sleep. I can't make business deals like that. So for me, it was I take this serious. I'm a world-class athlete. This is the job. I need to, in every aspect, do the best of it. So I'm, kind of like what you said.
Yeah.
Right, and I think it's a little more difficult for collegiate athletes to understand in some respects in terms of a pro athlete, right? They're getting paid to do their job, right? So it's a little easier for them to comprehend okay, I need to eat the right things. I need to rehab because this is my income, right? This is what's paying for my life. You know what I mean? So it's definitely a little harder for collegiate athletes to comprehend, but I mean, obviously it sounds like you've grasped the concept, and I hope a lot of other athletes understand it as well, because ultimately that's what gets you to the next level after college if you plan on playing or pursuing the sport afterwards. So you said that you made the U23 World Team. So what year was that? While you were at Duke?
That was 2019, in the summer of 2019. So I think May or June. So that was pretty unique. So college wrestling is called folk style, and then international, there's two styles, freestyle and Greco-Roman. So I did Greco-Roman. It's basically all upper body. You can't grab their legs. And I'd done none of it. So one of my coaches was like, hey, you should do this, try it. You've had a good summer training. Like, just do this, compete, it'll be different. Had a few weeks training and then just did really well, I guess, and then made the team. So it's kind of a crazy story on, I wasn't seeded, and then beat like 2, 3, 4, 5 seed. So it was pretty fun. It was a fun tournament.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How long was that? Was that the when you were training at the the USA?
So this
Center or
was
whatever?
before that. So me doing that qualified me the next year for the Olympic red shirt.
Okay. So what was that whole situation like? That must have been pretty.
Yeah. So
surreal.
it's pretty funny actually. So the coach who recruited me to the Olympic Training Center, he's actually my coach now at Michigan. So yeah, pretty funny that it kind of worked out like that. But
hey, it's
that's
all
right,
about
yeah.
the connections, right? That's
you
what it
don't
comes
burn
down
bridges
to.
and you try to treat people right. But yeah, it was crazy. He reached out and he said, "Hey, I want you to come train." It was like an hour from my home in Colorado, so worked out pretty well.
Perfect.
Trained there for about 6 months and had a blast. Got a lot better and trained hard.
That's awesome. So now, at what point did you? So are you still in your 4 years at college, or are you doing a graduate?
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy. It's like my 6th or 7th year, and I still have eligibility. So I want to use it.
No way.
Wow. Yeah, go
I
for
love
it.
college.
Right,
I don't want to leave.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to cover about college, or Dylan? Do you have any other questions you want to ask him about college before we move on to plans for the future?
Yeah, so walk us through how did the transition? Obviously, you said you knew the coach, and that he ended up being your coach in Michigan. Like, how did that come to be from, moving from Duke to Michigan with that transfer? And that was, did you do a full 4 years at Duke before transferring to Michigan?
So I did a gray shirt at Duke, which was just training. I wasn't in school. 2 at Duke, and then an Olympic red shirt, and then 2 more at Duke, and now I'm here. So I got my master at Duke as well.
Wow, that's quite.
Yeah,
the journey
I'm
there.
old. I'm an old dude in college, but it's fun.
Hey, no, as hockey players, we totally get that. I'm going into my sophomore year. I'll be 22, so
Heck
we
yeah.
play 3 years of junior hockey.
Yeah.
After high
Same
school,
here.
and we go in as freshmen as 21.
Wait,
So I totally understand.
Where do you guys play hockey at?
I play at Long Island University.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to University
Oh,
of
that's
New
awesome.
England
How
next
do you
year.
guys know each other?
We
Oh, okay.
We played juniors together.
That's sick.
So.
That's sick.
Yeah. Yep. So we understand the age discrimination.
It's
right?
not cool.
Against the older guys.
It's not cool. That's awesome, though. No, hockey and wrestling, those are pretty similar, honestly. Pretty, brutal sports.
Yeah, physically demanding, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely physically demanding. So, yeah, I mean, I guess I'll elaborate a little more on... I want to hear more about the 6-month journey you had at the training center. Like, what was the training like
so
over
it
there?
was really good training. It was structured. They had, nutrition stuff there, the best food there. I had obviously a phenomenal coach there, who's my coach now, Kevin Jackson. And another athlete there, Jaden Cox, who's, world champion, a couple-time world champion. You name it, he has all the accolades. So he was training there. He's also at Michigan, funny enough. So it was phenomenal training. They treated me really well up there. And it was crazy because, I was kind of a young dude. I think I was 20 at the time. And, I'm at the Olympic Training Center, and there's, Olympic-level athletes walking by, and I'm like, who am I? So it was cool to take in and, kind of be in that atmosphere.
Yeah, how many hours a day did
So
they
I was
have
a
you
resident
training
there,
over
so I lived in the dorms there, and then it was like a wrestling and a lift every day. So a couple hour wrestle and like an hour lift.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. So now I didn't know that you could like do. I think you said it was the Olympic red shirt or whatever it is. So how does that work with the school? I've never even heard of that. They just like allow you to leave pretty much if you're if you qualify
it does with
like
eligibility. So if you I think obviously it's sports specific. So obviously my U23 and I also did well at U.S. Open. I took fourth. And so there's criteria. If you hit some of those marks, you can qualify for an Olympic red shirt. So I did a leave of absence at Duke. So I stepped out of Duke for a year and then trained full time for the year, basically to chase the Olympic dream, and then resumed my time. And then obviously COVID and all that kind of messed things up, but
Of course.
Yeah.
No kidding, huh? So are you still eligible to like be in the Olympics now, or are you too old?
Too old for Olympics?
Yeah, to like qualify.
Yeah,
so I don't know how it works.
So my goal right now is I'm going to get citizenship with Israel, and then I was going to do it through them, Team Israel, and try to qualify for Olympics there. My older brother's doing that, and my twin, he's in a process as well as doing that. So.
Wow.
There you go.
So
how old's
26.
your older brother?
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So now you have somebody that you can kind of tailor your journey after, right? So if he hits a roadblock, you just go the other way.
Yeah.
You're
honestly, yeah, he's
clear.
which helps, He's like, oh, you do it this way, or this is working, like go this route. So I mean, it took a lot of nerves, and because he did it first, so he kind of had to step out of his comfort zone and take a risk. So props to him.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right on. So then, you essentially have 6 years. Your time at Duke was over the course of 6 years, and just walk us through, why Michigan? How did that come to be? Was it all through the connection with the coach at the Olympic level? How did that come to be?
Yeah, so that was a big part of it. I guess, so entering the transfer portal, kind of as I mentioned before, before I was not recruited at all, and I had to beg schools to, let me come visit. This time it was way different. It was nuts. I entered the transfer portal and it was phone call, text, email, nonstop for the next 2-3 weeks. Like I wanted to just shut my phone off and just go away to the beach or something. It was stressful because there's people I didn't get a chance to respond to, and I tried to respond to everybody, but it was hectic. And I obviously narrowed it down to some schools, took some visits, and Kevin Jackson, obviously he was my connect, and they reached out and they were interested, and Michigan Wrestling, they took second last year and have phenomenal. Yeah, they have a phenomenal program.
Wow.
Coach Sean Bourmet, he's the head coach. He is, phenomenal. Everybody I speak to is like, he's a phenomenal coach. He will treat you right, and he'll get you to reach your goals. So, I visited other schools, and I'm super grateful that they were interested in me. But, I'm happy to be in Michigan. They have a good thing going here, and I'm, happy to see what's to come.
No kidding. I mean, what isn't Michigan good at? I mean, they seem to have a program for everything. No kidding.
Yeah, I think they won like the best sports thing in the nation. There's like, it might be the Directors Cup or something, but it was like most like.
Yeah,
athletic.
Where essentially it's points for all the athletic teams and where they rank. Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, so I think they won, which is pretty crazy.
Can't say I'm surprised.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, I know. Seriously, huh? That's crazy. So now, was this your first year coming up at Michigan?
Yeah, so I'm here in Ann Arbor now. I moved in about a month ago. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, okay. So
it's been awesome.
How's it been over there so far?
Like I said, the coaches are phenomenal, world-class coaches. They've been super great to me, treated me right, and they've coached me up hard, and they're going to continue. And the team, phenomenal guys. Obviously meeting all them as time goes on, and yeah, it's a really good situation for me. I'm happy to be here.
So
yeah, the majority
is the whole
of them,
team there now?
They don't have to, so it speaks
Majority,
on the passion of the guys, and we want to get better. Yeah.
That's a good
Get
sign.
better. So
Yeah, that's awesome. That's good stuff. For sure. So I guess if you don't have anything else to add for college so far, anyways, I guess we'll have to have you on later on after this year to get a reassessment of how things are going and stuff. But what's so? I know you already touched on trying to make the Olympic team for Israel. That might be a path that you choose, but I guess in terms of elsewhere, what are the plans?
Yeah,
after college?
I'll say I'm super impressed with you guys. Starting the Underdog brand and all that. I think it's awesome. It's impressive, and maybe I get some notes from you guys. But so I got my master in business. So I want to maybe start my own business down the line. Maybe an apparel company. I have a few ideas, but yeah, maybe years down the line. But yeah, so you guys, that's cool.
That's awesome.
Right on.
Yeah, that's good. Hey, maybe you'll have a part in the Underdog brand someday.
That's awesome.
We got some
I'm
big
excited
plans
to
for the
see.
future, so. Yeah, definitely. So, are you? We always ask our guests because every guest we've had on has been athletes. But it's interesting to hear their interest in coaching after they're done with their respective sports. So, are you interested in doing anything like that in the future?
I don't think right out. When I'm done competing, I want to be, a full-time coach, but I definitely want to at least be involved some way, and maybe down the line coach, because there's a lot of coaches that influenced my life positively, had a great impact on it, and that's where I'm at today, honestly. It's more so the coaches and the people that supported me, so I want to try to give back some knowledge that I gained and help kids influence them.
For sure.
Absolutely. I personally believe that coaches can change the trajectory in a good way and a bad way of the kids coming up, and I think that's definitely one of the best ways to give back to the sport that we've all dedicated to our respective sports so much of our lives to. I think that's definitely a great way to give back. I'm super interested to see how things go for you. We're excited to follow along for sure. So, and we always ask, if you could give one piece of advice to our listeners on their own journey to benefit them and to kind of help them grow as individuals and as athletes if they are athletes. Yeah, that's
a good one. There's a lot of things that come to mind. Yeah, I might say a couple.
Or multiple.
But I'd say the number one thing is probably. And you guys are an example of it probably, which is, surround yourself with people that, are like-minded and are chasing the same goals as you. I think that was huge for me. Like I said, I had my other brothers growing up, and then, get to high school, college. You got to surround yourself with people that are trying to reach the same goals and living the right lifestyle. I'm no saint, and I've made plenty of mistakes in my life, but overall, I've tried to surround myself with people that are on the right path, working hard, and chasing similar goals to me. I think that's huge.
Yeah, and to add on to that too, I feel like it's one of those things that keeps having to be reassessed, right? You might have somebody who's on the same path as you at a certain point in time, and then 2 years down the line, that they're standing still, right? They're not going anywhere. So, those are kind of things that you have to evaluate as you move forward on your journey. And it's hard. It really is hard because you gain these connections with people, these relationships. It's hard to just push them to the side. You know what I mean? But ultimately, sometimes that's what has to be done in order to achieve that goal to get to that next level to where you want to be.
I've had friends at certain points of time in my life, best friends, and then different times changed. Their goals change, my goals change, and sometimes you lose friends, and it happens. But like I said, you try to do right by people, and that's all you can do. Sometimes that's it. But yeah, you said it best. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good. Anything else?
Yeah. I would say enjoy it. because I can look back and think about times where I was like, oh, like getting through a practice was like the most stressful thing for me, and that was my whole world. Like, I would like get so anxious about it, or I would be like, if I lose this match, my world is over. Which is hard because I can look back and I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like, whatever, I didn't win a state title this year, I lost this, like, in the grand scheme of things, does not matter at all. So try to enjoy it. It's fun. If it's not fun, then you should reevaluate things. Maybe your environment, coaches. Because, I mean, obviously it's hard and it's going to suck a lot, but it should be fun overall. So enjoy it.
Yeah, and that honestly speaks to like the journey itself. A lot of people are so honed in on the end goal, right? And then when they reach that end goal, they're like, it's not all that great. What the real happiness and fulfillment is in the process itself, right? The day-to-day, the mundane things that might not seem so great in the moment, but afterwards, right? Like, what's a better feeling than completing a brutal workout or, getting through a brutal practice? You know what I mean? Like, that's where where you really learn about yourself and where you really grow as an individual and as an athlete. At least that's what I think personally. I mean, I'm sure you can say the same thing. I think it goes across the board.
No, I agree with you. It sounds super cliche, but it's so accurate. Like, it's not the end goal is the end goal, but it is more about the journey, as cliche as that sounds. But, I can think back in some phenomenal moments I've had in wrestling. I remember more so hanging with the boys after a workout, or like small things like that. I remember those a lot more, like team dinners and stuff like that, than more, hey, I won a state title. I can't even remember, like, stuff like, or I qualified for NC. Like, it was more about the small things. So,
for sure, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
You hear a lot of people say that when they look back. It's not about how many wins or losses they had. It's about the people they spent with and the good times they had with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. All right, Matt. Well, I mean, I think we have a lot more to cover that we haven't covered, but I think we'll have a lot more to talk about after you've had at least a few months at Michigan and see how things are rolling there. But we'd love to have you on a few months down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me on, and best of luck.
You as well, Matt. It was awesome.
Yeah, thanks, fellas.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you as well. Yep, you as well. And we'll be in touch soon. And we're coming out with an energy drink coming out in about a month. So it's formulated for collegiate athletes. That's our main goal. With it in the formulation process, we've spent probably 5 months now in this journey. And so we're excited to bring it out. So we're definitely going to send you a bunch of stuff once we launch, and we'd love to have you sharing it with the guys over at Michigan. That'd be great.
That's sick though that you guys started that.
Yeah.
What is it? So I saw you guys apparel and all that, but I mean, you got to tell me more about the process of making the energy drink and all that. That's crazy.
Definitely. We can have a more in-depth talk off camera, but yeah, I mean, it's been one hell of a journey for sure, and we wanted to have a more valuable product to bring to market to our community, right? Like, our whole aspect behind the brand is pretty much building a community and wanting to, the underdog, empowering the underdogs, and we want to be able to give a product to them that is trustworthy, that's valuable to them, that can actually help them reach their goals, right? Like, clothing can only take you so far. It's more of a personality that you can have behind it in terms of the clothing and what it represents, as opposed to something that can actually add value. There's so many shitty energy drinks out there that college athletes are drinking that they're just not good for you, right? That whether you're crashing after workouts, and then you got to study the rest of the day. It's like, how do you expect a guy to be able to do that and then perform in practice later on in the day? So our whole goal behind was pretty much making this for collegiate athletes, not cutting corners, right? Like, this is going to be a high quality product.
That's sick. We're excited. That's super cool.
To bring it out there. Yeah, man. Well, it was great. It was great having you on, and
I appreciate it.
To keep in touch over the coming months.
Yeah, have a good one. Appreciate it.
There was so much that we didn't really cover. We try to keep it to 40 minutes and under, just because in terms of the, our episodes. We want to try to keep them all around the same length, anyways. But we're definitely gonna have to have him on again because I want to hear more about like his childhood, right? Like how this all came about and having 3 other brothers doing the same exact thing.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
He'll be cool to have on it, even at, like by Christmas time, the new year. How was first semester at Michigan?
Yeah, I mean that's insane, and that's the first time I've ever heard a journey like that through college.
Dude, I didn't realize a gray shirt. I've never even heard of that.
I know.
A gray shirt and then an Olympic red shirt.
Yeah, so that's 2 years. I mean, hey, nice little break in the middle in the middle of college, right? Not too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I always love hearing all these stories just because it just proves the point that there's so many different ways to the same destination.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no way anybody else has the same exact way that he's done it.
That's crazy. And even we should repost his one post on Underdog. Let me pull it up here.
About Duke, yeah. No.
In 2016, I got denied from Duke University and told by multiple people I would never succeed with the academic rigor at Duke. And now I stand here with the Duke undergraduate degree and Duke Masters. That should be right on Underdog.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and to add on to that, like, he was talking about how the tides pretty much turned, right? Like, when he was first going into college, he wasn't getting any looks or anything. He had to dig deep to try to get anything, any looks or any conversations with coaches. And then when he entered the portal, it was like the floodgates opened.
Yeah.
It was like everybody wanted him. And that just goes to show you that nothing happens overnight. You know what I mean? Like, you know how long it took? It took him, what, 5 years? 5 years to get to that point where everybody wanted him. You know what I mean? So it's just like everybody thinks that these things just happen overnight. Like, nothing happens overnight. It's such a long, grueling process that not many people are willing to go through, honestly. Quite honestly. Like, that's just the truth.
Yeah. But no, that was awesome. And he's a beast. Looking at his Instagram, he's a unit.
Yeah, he is, yeah. You can tell, too, the way, like, he's very... He's amped up about it. That's for sure. He's passionate. He's passionate about the sport. And I love to see that. That's why I was like, man, like you're the kind of guy that we want, right? On board of Underdog.
100%.
That's the exact mindset.
I was thinking the same thing. Like, this is the guy that you want to be a part with this. Like, he's perfect to have on the podcast. Yeah, send him shirts and stuff. Like, he represents what the brand is about.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to follow along, that's for sure. I mean, another guy with a severe injury, right? What does that come out to? Like 6 months, 7 months he was out?
Longer than that. He said December, and he came back in October. So that's that's 10 months.
Yeah, that's a long time. That is a long freaking time for an injury. And I love how he mentioned, like, it's easy to fall into the trap of like having an injury and be like, damn, like I can't train, I can't do this, I can't do that. But he was like, I'm going to see how many like these baby squats I can do, or like, you know what I mean? Just things like that, like finding ways to challenge yourself through the injury process. And I feel like that's so important because there's some serious mental health issues with athletes who get injuries. Like, it's something that is just, it's not covered. It's not really not covered anywhere. Like, it's a serious issue that is just not confronted. I think that's a great way to cope with it. That's for sure. Just like really, buying into the rehab process and being like, okay, I'm going to do this like it's my training program. Like, this is what I have to do to succeed. Yeah, I found that very interesting. But yeah, that's all I got. You got anything else?
No, that was awesome. He's another. I mean, we've really lucked out. We've had 3 great guests on, and 3 guys that exemplify the brand, and hopefully we'll support in the future.
Yeah. And speaking of the brand, we're making our way, turtle-like speed, but we're making our way with releasing the energy drink. We're very excited to bring it to you guys. It's finally coming to fruition. So keep tabs on social media, and we'll be sending out weekly emails as well. updating you guys on the process and everything else going on with Underdog. So follow us on Instagram at underdog_brand. Well, that's pretty much where everything goes down. That's our main platform. And then subscribe to our email newsletter, and you'll be updated weekly. And besides that, we will catch you on the next episode. Thank you for listening.